There are 13,178 waters in North Carolina that are considered Category 5 impaired streams, which means that a pollutant so severely impairs the water that it's unable to obtain an acceptable community for aquatic life.
Many people don't know that we have an impaired stream on our campus, but we do, and it's right here. The whole reason we care about stream restoration is because the organisms in an impaired stream can't live. And if the organisms in a stream can't live, then the organisms that depend on those organisms can't live, and so on and so forth. Also, if a stream is impaired, it's important because it's not doing what it's supposed to do, and it affects everyone.
There are 4 main problems contributing to the impairment of Horsepen Creek. The first is toxicity from pollutants such as metals and pesticides.
The second problem is habitat degradation, which is pretty self-explanatory. The third is scour, which is the removal of organisms and microhabitats during a storm.
The fourth problem is extensive sedimentation. Sediment isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when there's too much of it, it can lead to habitat degradation. These 4 problems were outlined in the assessment report, Biological Impairment in the Horsepen Creek Watershed.
According to a report conducted by the North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources, habitat degradation and scour are directly linked to industrial development in a watershed.
Okay, so right now we are at the Price Park section of Horsepen Creek, and this portion of the creek has recently been restored. It was most recently restored in 2010. So we're going to talk a little bit about the restoration process that took place here.
So we are here with Jake Fogarty, a current Guilford student who is a geo major, and he's also taking Angie's hydrology class this semester.
I am.
Would you like to tell us about the steps that were taken to restore this part of the stream?
Sure. Well, initially there was a topographic survey taken of the area trying to determine what kind of stream is natural to this environment. And it's per Dave Roskin's field manual for restoring streams. And that's what gave us this shape of the stream and the meander bends and all of that stuff. There was an effort put in for a riparian buffer zone.
So you were talking about the riparian buffer zone? What is that?
It's a step in the creek restoration practices that prevent the stream from being filled up with sediments that can harm the benthic invertebrates that are vital to the health and of the stream.
So is this, it's up
Yeah,
there?
all of this, the green unmowed area, about 50 feet from either side of the stream is the buffer zone.
And weren't you saying it's important because they used to mow,
Yes.
like people used to mow up right to the stream?
Yeah, before this buffer zone practice was implemented, mowing and maintenance would happen right up next to the stream, and that would tear up all of the small, fine riparian buffer that would prevent, that would hold the soil in place and prevent erosion and scour and all other harmful natural processes.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
This right here is a reminder not to mow or cut within 50 feet of the riparian, of the stream banks, which is the riparian buffer zone.
So, another part of the stream restoration process is habitat improvement and diversification. And right here you have a riffle, which is great for small creatures, but as you can see, you can't just have riffle, you need to have pool as well, and that's an important, the change in habitat is important. And another prime example, something that was implemented as part of the restoration, is this tree stump, or root wad as it's called. It provides habitat for fish and other kinds of invertebrates, and just animals that help improve the stream's quality and help move it away from that impaired status.
Yeah.
So this structure right here, a cross vein, much like the root wad or tree stump that I showed earlier, was put in during the restoration process to enhance and diversify environment. The way it works is that during a high flood event, there will be scour by these rocks, leading to pool systems, which are great for larger fish and other organisms living in the stream. Well, there's a certain aesthetic value to sitting here listening to the water run. There might be no ecological good, done by this particular structure, but there's certainly some redeeming value, even if there's no ecological one, in sitting here and listening to the water run.
You can't really quantify that?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
There's no way to quantify that. The monitoring and restoration on this part of the creek has been done by NC State University with help or funding by
Ecosystem Enhancement Program?
Ecosystem Enhancement Program, and they've helped fund the monitoring that had happened since the installment of this restoration in 2000. The adaptive management programs that were put in 2007, and again, this particular section where we're at was restored again in 2010. So there's been a push for constant monitoring, which is important in these types of restoration programs, but it's important not just in stream restoration, but all types of restoration.
The plan for this project is outlined in the stream restoration plan for Jefferson Pilot property tributary to Horsepen Creek in October of 2000.
Okay, so do you think that a program like this could be installed for the part of Horsepen Creek on the Guilford College campus, and how would that work?
Well, I think that parts of this plan could be restored and implemented on the Guilford campus. I would argue that the stream at Guilford isn't as impaired as the Horsepen Creek stream was when the restoration efforts were taking place. But I think some aspects definitely could be taken to the Guilford stream. Namely, the riparian buffer zone, I think, is very important. We do have that with the woods in a sense, but I think that maintaining that and informing the public about its importance is of key importance. And
So what would that require?
well, there would be a need to raise the creek to a point where it could reconnect to its natural floodplain, which is important because if the stream can't flood its boundaries, it will have a tendency to erode farther down, leading to more incision and entrenchment, which is a big problem with stream restoration, and that's the most unseemly part. The steep banks is a big problem. And I would also argue that getting rid of the lake, while that might not be the most popular idea, I think it would help return the stream to its natural condition, in a true sense, restoring it rather than just fixing.
So here are a few future efforts we could take to prevent or remedy the problem of impaired streams. So first of all, we need a strategy to address toxic inputs that are being put into the streams. Also, there needs to be effective enforcement of sediment and erosion control regulations, and those could be part of the city of Greensboro. They could be enforced by the city of Greensboro. Also, we think that there need to be a lot more watershed education programs to inform everyone about this problem. This cute little squirrel probably likes to drink out of Horsepen Creek. What do you think impaired streams means to him?
Hi, Brianna Shadows.
Horsepen Creek. The first problem is toxicity from pesticides such as metals and pesticides.
Oh, Gina's feet.